What has Crazy Ex-Girlfriend meant to me? That's a question with a very personal answer that extends over several levels of fan love. CXGF has been a source of comfort, creative inspiration, a bopping soundtrack, and representation of my world that I never got to see on television before. On a somewhat more somber note, it was also the top item on my list of reasons to live for quite some time. I'm one of the Rebecca Bunches of this world. I don't have BPD, but I do have a number of her other issues and a good handful of some that are all my own. As of now, I've attempted suicide 11 times, and only been admitted to a psychiatric hospital once in my life. Getting myself there was the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm still not sure how on earth I managed to do it. But for me, it was the tipping point, the seasonal arc, if you will. In my head, my life is also a musical dramedy about my life and recovery. It's such a pure, relatable genre for whatever reason. I've never felt like a show gets me so much in my life. But I digress. The hospital, suicidality, my dark, distressing thoughts. Right. This was my life. And although I knew rationally that suicide and mental illness as a general subject affect about a fourth of the population, it was still hard to believe I wasn't going through it all alone. The same is true of my years of struggling with my OCD, my trauma, my mood, my own personality disorder. In those moments of isolation and struggling, I turned to comedy and music to escape. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend conveniently provided me both, giving me a few hours every week where I could unwind and enjoy myself with a show I really liked, but also delivering me media that pierced directly into my soul. I never expect to relate deeply to characters on the sitcoms I watch to escape reality temporarily. I'm not the kind of person people write sitcoms about. The first time I recall ever seeing myself portrayed in media, I must have been about 13 years old. I saw Elliot Reed from Scrubs exemplify my neurotic obsessive complexes. Her OCD traits were always the part of her character that resonated most with me, and gave that show a special place in my heart, even today. But that was a subplot in a show about a hospital. I had nothing to prepare me for a musical dramedy about mental illness, written by and from the perspective of a mentally ill person. I'd never seen anything like it. By now we all know representation matters. In many ways, I'm more represented in the media than most people. I've never felt out of place on account of my skin tone, age, religion, or country of origin. But at the same time, people don't write stories about people like me. Except other people like me. I'm very queer, I'm physically disabled, and I'm mentally ill in ways that aren't palatable to society and probably won't ever be in my lifetime. Even though I am sometimes pleasantly surprised by people's understanding, more often I face social rejection and get refused health care. That part of my story is still unshown on television. Heck, maybe I'll be the one to write that show. But watching Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for the first time, I felt a little closer to seeing myself having a place in society and a life in the world. Those are two different things to me. One refers to how other people respond to me, and the other part is my desire to live. I love realizing how deeply media affects us. Bagel's channel and other sources are so interesting and introspective. Sometimes it feels like coming home for a second therapy session in my own head. TV was a big part of my childhood and adolescence, let's face it. Analyzing it on a deeper level carries that escape and entertainment into my adulthood. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was my first time relating to any piece of media this intensely, and, in its place in my life as a source of background comfort and happiness these last 4 years, it has been escape, fandom, and so much more. I'm happy we all made it to season 4. I know I'll struggle for a long time to fill the void this show will leave in my heart after the finale. To the writers, directors, producers, cast, crew, et al. Of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I'm eternally grateful for these last 3 seasons and the next one. You will be sorely missed.